Chapter 8. The atmosphere in the Grand Salon was refined and civilized. Bach's Wolf Tempier Clavier played softly in the background as the elite of the coven welcomed their distinguished visitors from America. Crimson nourishment of a particularly choice pedigree flowed freely and was sipped from sparkling crystal chalices. Vampire ladies and gentlemen in their finest and most stylish arraiments flirted decorously with their honoured guests. Craven should have been in his element. The gala reception was precisely the kind of chic, Tony soiree he thrived on, holding court near the entrance of the salon, accepting fulsome compliments from the visiting dignitaries, while flattering them in turn. He found himself distracted and unable to enjoy himself. His eyes restlessly searched the faces of the crowd, looking for one particular vampiress. But Celine was nowhere to be seen. "Devil take the woman," he thought, concealing his growing vexation from the distinguished guests conversing with him. "Where in the blazes is she now?" He glanced over at the tall, black-haired vampire standing watch over the reception from the discreet corner of the room. This was Soren, the imposing head of Craven's not-so-secret police. Although reputed to be nearly as old as Victor himself, Soren was usefully unambitious, preferring to place his considerable strength and lack of scruples at the disposal of his chosen leader. Of black Irish descent, he had the broad shoulders and baleful looks of his fierce ancestors. Soren once had been Victor's personal bodyguard. Now he was Craven's. The looming janissary looked somewhat out of place among the mingling socialites, but Craven felt better to know that Soren and his hand-picked team of vampire enforcers were on hand should anything untoward occur. Craven had long ago seen the need for a security force of his own, independent of obsessed and often intractable death dealers, and Soren, ruthless, pragmatic, and brutal when necessary, had proven just the right vampire to carry out more draconian elements of Craven's agenda. Unfortunately, it appeared that not even Soren could guarantee Celine's attendance at even so glittering an affair. He shot Soren a questioning look, but the stony-faced enforcer shook his head curtly. Craven resisted an urge to charge up to Celine's room and personally drag her down the party. "I've had quite enough of her wilfulness and insubordination," he fulminated silently. "My patience is wearing thin." A gaunt epicene vampire wearing a red silk slash across the front of his tuxedo stepped into the center of the room and tapped a long white fingernail against the side of his chalice, calling the room to silence. Craven recognized Dmitri, the eldest of Emelian's envoys. The ageless diplomat waited patiently for the chamber's conversations to subside, then cleared his throat. Craven realized with a touch of impatience that the old fool was going to make a speech. "Our noble houses may be separated by a great ocean," Dmitri intoned sonorously, "but we are equally committed to the survival of our sacred bloodlines. When the illustrious Amelia, whom I have the honor of serving, arrives, awakens the slumbering Marcus in just 2 nights' time, we will once again be united as a single coven." He raised his chalice high, leading the assembled aristocrats in a toast. "Vitam et sanguinem," he recited. "Life and blood." A chorus of clinking crystals seconded the toast, and Craven raised his own glass, grateful that the pompous envoy had kept his remarks short. Craven snuck a peek at the open doorway, hoping to see Celine make a tardy arrival, but was disappointed once more. "I swear," he thought in righteous indignation, "if she were not my intended queen, I would never let her get away with such effrontery." A cool hand tugged on his elbow, and he turned to see the same blonde servant wench, Erica, standing at his side. She was wearing, in keeping with the occasion, a dark sequin dress with elbow-length black gloves, which did not look too conspicuously threadbare amidst the more dazzling finery of the vampire nobles. "What the devil does she want?" he wondered, irked by the intrusion. The thin maidservant pointed demurely at her lips, then beckoned for his ear. Curious, Craven bent over and let Erica whisper in his ear. His annoyance at the servant girl was instantly superseded by a more volcanic fury directed at another. "I don't believe it," he thought, aghast. "How dare she?" Without bothering to make his apologies to his esteemed guest, he stormed out of the salon. He dashed up the mansion's grand staircase, taking a step two at a time, until he came to the heavy oak door guarding Celine's room. He threw open the door and charged inside, quickly confirming that the chamber was just as deserted as Erica had predicted. A car engine roared to life outside, and Craven ran to the window just in time to witness Celine's sporty Jaguar speeding past the estate's outer gates, tearing off into the night. "Damnation!" he gnashed his fangs in fury as he watched the Jag's taillights disappear into the distance. He glanced at his wristwatch. It was after 5 a.m. The sun would be rising in a matter of hours. So where in Hades could she be going? Such a confounded hurry, he worried angrily. And tonight of all nights. Craven retreated from the window, perplexed and grievously offended. Scanning the room for some clue to Celine's inexcusable behaviour, he noted her laptop sitting open on the desk. In her unseemly haste, she had left the machine up and running. Frozen on the screen was a profile of some insignificant mortal, apparently lifted from the hospital employee database. A colour photo of a brown-haired youth was accompanied by the human's name, Michael Corvin, and various pieces of personal information, age, nationality, address, and so on. Craven noted with disdain that this Corvin creature was mere 28 years old. He was a callow pup even by mortal standards. "Who?" Craven vaguely remembered Celine saying something ridiculous about the Lycans stalking a particular human, but he failed to see what could possibly be so important about one nondescript mortal. "For this," he thought indignantly, "she left me without an escort at my own reception?" Whoever this Michael Corvin was, Craven already disliked him intensely. The grungy apartment building was a far cry from a stately decor of the manor. The carpeted hallway was badly in need of vacuuming, while the plaster walls were scuffed and cracked in places. Harsh fluorescent lights hummed and cracked. Good, Celine thought. These were exactly the sort of low-rent lodgings where she would expect to find struggling medical students. Must be the right place. According to his employee file, the mysterious Michael Corvin lived on the top floor of a 5-story apartment building, which was located within walking distance of the metro station at Fenric Square. Striding down the empty corridor, she counted down the numbers towards Corvin's apartment. 510. Tarnished brass numerals nailed to the cheap plywood door confirmed that she had arrived at her intended destination. She paused outside the door, consulting her watch. 5:50. Less than an hour to sunrise. With little to no time to spare, she did not waste precious minutes picking the lock. Instead, she effortlessly kicked the door open with a single burst of superhuman strength. Unlike the vampires of myth and movies, she required no invitation to enter an apartment. The ICU at Kalori Hospital smelled unpleasantly of antiseptic. Pierce was grateful that in his human form, his nose was not nearly as acute as when he was a wolf. He and Taylor had arrived at the hospital disguised in the distinctive blue uniforms of Hungarian policemen, in the search of the elusive Michael Corvin. Pierce looked forward to succeeding where Reyes had failed, capturing the human and pleasing Lucian, and thereby raising his and Taylor's standing in the pack. Unfortunately, Corvin apparently had left the hospital already, and his colleague, a frazzled-looking human named Lockwood, was not proving of much assistance. "Sorry," the lanky physician said, with a shrug. "You just missed him." Pierce had given Lockwood the impression that he and his fellow officer just wanted to ask Corvin a few more questions about the incident in the underground. The Lycan's long black hair had been pulled back into a ponytail, the better to impersonate a cop. "You know where we can find him?" Lockwood threw up his hands. "He's working a split shift. You'll either have to try him at home or wait until he comes back." Scowling, Pierce exchanged an impatient glance with Taylor. The other Lycan still had an ugly cut on his cheek, left over from the gladiatorial battle down in the lair. Pierce remembered inflicting the wound with his own bloody claw, and regretted that Lucian had aborted the contest before either of them could have claimed victory. "I know I could have beaten him," Pierce thought savagely. "My jaws were strong, my teeth were red." Perhaps Lockwood noted the bloodthirsty gleam in Pierce's eyes, or maybe he just picked up on the two Lycans' tense and edgy mood. In any event, a worried tone entered his voice. "Michael isn't in any kind of trouble, is he?" Despite the early hour, Michael Corvin was not at home. Celine did not find this too surprising. She was well aware the student doctor often kept ungodly hours. Not unlike vampires, she thought wearily. That was not the only thing she had in common with Corvin. Like her own rooms back at Audiobook, the human's apartment had a stark utilitarian feel. The furniture was functional, not decorative, and the barren off-white walls offered little insight into the American's personality and tastes. The bland, featureless apartment almost could have passed as a hotel room. Why would the Lycans be interested in this human? Celine took advantage of Corvin's absence to search his apartment, hoping to discover some clue to the mystery. Moving with near-surgical precision, she conducted a thorough sweep of the premises. Sifting through his sparse personal effects, there was no need to turn on the lights. Vampire vision was all she required to probe the shadowy corners of the apartment. A stack of mail piled on an end table, yielding nothing incriminating, only bills and junk mail. His bookshelf was equally innocuous, holding only an assortment of medical textbooks, an English-Hungarian dictionary, and a couple of paperback novels, in English of course. Mysteries and thrillers mostly, nothing remarkable, not even a dog-eared copy of Dracula or The Werewolf of Paris. The apartment was also devoid of guns, drugs, and pornography, or anything remotely illicit or dangerous. No silver bullets, no wooden stakes, no garlic. Nothing. His small refrigerator contained only TV dinners, not plasma or human flesh. Michael Corvin appeared to be exactly what he seemed, a perfectly normal human being, albeit rather far from home. So why were Reyes and that other Lycan stalking him? She was on the verge of giving up her search when she stumbled upon a battered manila envelope. Tucked away at the back of his desk drawer, where she had missed it before, carefully opening the envelope, she discovered a sheaf of colour photographs. A cavalcade of unfamiliar faces smiled at her. Corvin's friends and family, she guessed. The brown-haired youth appeared in a number of photos himself, his smiling semblance captured in a variety of unsuspicious contexts. Birthday parties, graduations, campouts, beaches, ski trips, and so on. The sunny images, radiant with warmth and fun and fellowship, provoked a peculiar melancholy in the driven vampiress. Her throat tightened as she flipped through the carefree photos, which suddenly struck her as painful reminders of the humanity she had lost over the course of time. She remembered the faded portrait residing on her own desk and wondered why Corvin chose to keep these golden memories hidden away and out of sight. Doesn't he realize how lucky he is? She came upon a heartbreaking photo of Corvin and an unknown woman posing arm in arm, in front of a breathtaking sunset, of the sort that Celine has not seen since she had first learned to fear the sun. There was no mistaking the obvious affection and intimacy between the couple. They were deeply, happily, and hopelessly in love. Celine felt a yearning that was almost physical. Her brown eyes gleamed moistly. Had she ever known a love like this? Not truly, she admitted. She had been a mere slip of a girl. Fresh-faced and virginal than when Victor had first turned her ages ago. Since then, her immortal existence had been consumed by her sacred war against the Lycans, so that she had all but forgotten the simple, everyday joys of friends and family, let alone love. The same woman, sun-kissed and radiant, appeared in several of the photos. Corvin's sweetheart? Girlfriend? Fiancée? Wife? Celine felt a sudden, irrational surge of jealousy. Enough! She thought firmly. She was wasting time. It was clear and innocent snapshots held no explanation for the Lycans, unaccountable interest in Corvin. Dropping the photos onto the floor, like so many trash, she wandered back towards the Corvin's overstuffed bookshelf, just in case she had missed something earlier. She ran a gloved finger along the spines of the book, once again finding nothing but a surplus of medical tomes. Perhaps the Lycans are trying to draft a medic, she speculated. Someone had to pry the silver bullets out of mangy hides. But why Corvin? Why now? A stethoscope hung on the nail not far from the bookshelf. She fingered the rubber tubing thoughtfully, while wondering just how long she intended to wait for Corvin to return home. Dawn was near, and she was far from the mansion. The phone rang, startling her.